Now on CoastTV News.
The fight continues. Local leaders head to D.C. with renewed confidence, pushing back against offshore wind projects. Road work ahead. Ocean City's Route 50 bridge is getting a facelift, but could summer traffic take a hit? We'll tell you what's done and when. Plus, a step forward in launching Delaware's recreational marijuana market. What's next now that background checks can begin?
This is CoastTV News at 11.
From the beach to the nation's capital, Worcester County leaders carry their wind concerns to Washington. Good evening. I'm Christina DeRobertis. Welcome to Coast TV News at 11. We begin tonight with the latest effort to stop wind turbines off the coast of Ocean City. The fight over offshore wind, it's not new. We've been telling you about it for months now, but local leaders are keeping the pressure on. Maryland State Senator Mary Beth Carrozza, Ocean City Mayor Rick Meehan, and County Commissioner Joe Mitrosek met with the chair of the U.S. House Energy and Commerce Committee. It's part of a continued push to get the Trump administration to officially kill the U.S. wind project off our coast. A similar project off New York's coast was recently halted. Carrozza says she feels the momentum is on the town's side.
We want to see a complete halt to the project, and so we have every intention to take every opportunity at every level to continue to make the case.
Now, U.S. Wind's project to build more than 100 turbines about 11 miles off the Ocean City coast has already gotten federal approval. The company says it looks forward to working with the Trump administration to achieve U.S. energy independence. Staying in Ocean City, you're looking now at the Route 50 bridge in and out of Ocean City. It's 83 years old, and state highway officials say work is being done to repair the bridge's aging concrete. It could lead to some lane closures throughout the summer. State leaders say those closures would try to avoid beach traffic running in the morning time from around 4 a.m. to 11 a.m. But some people in town worry the closures could still lead to traffic headaches.
Why couldn't they do it at a slower period? If there's already a choke point trying to get the tourists in, it's, of course, a headache even for the locals to go back and forth.
Now, Maryland state highway officials say that concrete work that's being done on the bridge, it will pave the way for some structural steel work that's expected to begin this upcoming winter. Also in Ocean City, OC Bike Fest is still in question. The previous promoter used to pay the town around $55,000 to use the Ocean City inlet for OC Bike Fest. Now, according to Ocean City manager Terry McGeehan, OC Jams used to pay the town about $90,000 to use the OC inlet. They would also pay $2 per ticket to Ocean City. McGeehan says these fees help offset the loss they would take on parking revenue and would help cover all the public workers that have to put in overtime during the event. But the new promoter, Kick-In Events, they want a better deal.
They may be asking for some relief for some of the city fees. That'll be up to the council whether they want to entertain that or not.
Now, Kick-In Events talked to the Ocean City Council tonight on what they have planned for Bike Fest 2025 and to see if they're aligned with how much everything's going to cost. Well, the 4-year-old Grove Park Canal dock, it was built as a way to get to and from Rehoboth via the Lewis and Rehoboth Canal. But now the city says the structure is unstable and eroding. The city now wants to stabilize the existing walls, and they're looking at 3 options to do that. One is short-term monitoring and maintenance for about $43,000 or an immediate rehab for about $300,000. There are also 2 big projects on the table. The first would be to complete removal and replacement of the dock. That would cost about $1.9 million. Option 2 is removal of the dock and added slope stabilization, ringing in at about $1 million. Now, some locals say they just never see the dock used.
My opinion is not to put the money into it. You know, use it for other things that are needed, necessary in the town. It's a great visual, but if it's not used, why put any money into it?
And at the city's meeting today, commissioners did not decide on any options for the future of the structure, but they did say they will re-engage with engineers. And depending on what those engineers say, the city could reopen the dock in its current state for the summer season. This does bring us to our Coast TV poll tonight. We want to know how much investment should go into the Rehoboth dock. Let's take a look at the results, see what you all think. 74% saying improvements should be around $300,000. 19% saying replacement should be more than $1 million. 7% saying stabilization should also be a bit more than $1 million. We also have a comment today. It's from Debbie in Millsboro. She says it's unclear what will be used to justify the cost, saying planting ground cover and trees or bushes may be less expensive. We want to know what you think, though. You can still vote. It's not too late. You can change up the results. Let us know what you think. Just head to CoastTV.com or use our mobile app. Now we're taking a live look outside into Lewis, and our first alert chief meteorologist Paul Williams joins us now with a check on our weather. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, Christina. We've been keeping a close eye on some scattered showers and thunderstorms brewing just to our west. Fortunately for us, really avoided the Delaware Peninsula for the most part. Rocked the folks over there in D.C. as well as Baltimore, but they're not us, right? So here we go. So in Laurel, 62 degrees, thick cloud cover in place. We're going to stay in the lower 60s for the rest of the evening, not necessarily watching out for any skittish type scattered showers in the area. We are in the 60s generally everywhere, pretty uniform with our temperatures, 63 in Seaford, but 62 right now in Lewis. But we do have concerns for dense fog overnight. Dense fog advisories in effect for Dewey Beach, Bottom Hills, Ocean View, Bayview Park, just to name a few. Coming up, we'll talk more about a summer-like feel in the air. Till then, back to you, Christina.
All right, thank you so much, Paul. New tonight at 11, Delaware's Office of the Marijuana Commissioner can now start fingerprint background checks for selected marijuana license applicants. The FBI has issued a fingerprint code after state lawmakers passed a bill clarifying who needs to be checked. One term still needs tweaking, but officials say this is a big step forward for launching Delaware's recreational cannabis market. School board elections are next Tuesday in Delaware, and the Delaware Department of Elections say the polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Voters must bring proof of identity and address, and the deadline for requesting an absentee ballot, that's on Friday, May 9th. You can see a full breakdown of the Indian River and Cape Henlopen School District races and more over on CoastTV.com. Well, an open field on Route 113 and Hardscrabble Road will soon be the spot for the new BB Medical Center in Millsboro. Currently, there's one BB walk-in care in the center of town. Now, Millsboro's Town Council had the new medical facility on their agenda for tonight, but they tabled it. However, a local pharmacy technician tells Coast TV he thinks the new development will help the county overall.
I also think it's going to add a little more infrastructure to the area, building Sussex County as a whole, and increasing tourism and stuff like that.
Millsboro's town manager says the project was tabled for tonight's meeting due to a scheduling conflict on BB Healthcare's end. Also, it's not just BB. Tidal Health has big plans for Millsboro just up the highway from that new BB center. According to Tidal Health, the facility they are building will include more than 150,000 square feet, including a lab, pharmacy, and primary care. Tidal Health says they purchased the lot in 2020, but plans were pushed back due to the pandemic. And about a week ago, Sussex County officials cut the ribbon on a new 4,300 square foot paramedic station that's on Dickerson Road in Millsboro. The county council president says it's already helping speed up emergency response times with better access to US 113. And we are just getting started tonight at 11. Still a lot more news coming your way. Up next, a discussion in Bethany Beach about the cost of protecting our coast and our dunes. But first, storms and tornadoes threatening the southern plains. Which areas are expecting the worst of the weather?
Speaking of weather, we're looking for summer-like conditions for us throughout the Bay forecast. Temperatures in the upper 70s for 3 days in a row. We'll have more on this and more summer-like conditions coming up in just 60 seconds. So we're actually going to be in somewhat of a summer pattern. Now, not, 90, 100 degree weather, but temperatures well above the norm for this time of the year, into or approaching or close to the 80s several days in a row. Our dry tech camera, Ocean City. 62 degrees, winds at about 7 miles per hour. Now we could still get a little random rain shower or two in the early morning hours, 1 to 2 o'clock, with temperatures still staying in the low 60s. But generally speaking, everybody's looking pretty uniform, no matter if you're close to the water or if you are farther inland. We're at 60 degrees right now in Delaware as well as Gumboro, 60 degrees right now in Willards. The winds primarily pushing out of the southeast, but backing off, not really all that aggressive thus far. Dense fog, that might be a primary concern for us for Tuesday morning. For Slaughter Beach, Broadkill Beach, Lewis Beach, Rehoboth Beach. Not just there. Dewey Beach, Bottom Hills, Ocean View. Visibility cut down to near zero. Places like Ocean View, South Bethany, Fenwick Island, also among the listing of beaches that are going to deal with some dense fog for early tomorrow morning, at least until about 6 o'clock. And we initially had concerns for a severe thunderstorm watch in our area, just on the other side of the bay. But now those light scattered showers are staying concentrated over towards the Baltimore and the D.C. area and moving more towards the north, as we kind of thought with the movement that we were tracking earlier this evening. But that quasi-stationary boundary is still lifting primarily to the north, but at a very creeping slow pace. Cloudy skies overnight, temperatures in the low 60s, summer-like sunshine for tomorrow. 80 for the high, for example, in Georgetown and Seaford. About 3 degrees cooler than that, but still warm, 77 Cambridge. And we anticipate 77 for the high in Berlin, Snow Hill, 78 Pocomoke City. Tuesday, by the evening time, we'll still be in the upper 60s with the winds out of the south. Then for Wednesday, around lunchtime, mid-70s. That's really warm. And then we'll peak at about near 80. Then we'll kind of waffle our way back into the 60s after that. Precipitation, that's the next question. 24% chance on Thursday, 37% chance on Friday. And the amount of rain, I kind of tracked it starting now until like the weekend. And we're only looking for about 1.5 inches over 3 to 4 days. So it's not a whole lot of rain, even though we have a cutoff low that's going to help create isolated showers. But we're mainly going to be damp, and we're definitely going to feel a bit on the muggy side. Take a look at this rain that we're looking at gauging for 4 o'clock Thursday, light scattered showers, and another wave pulls through. Friday at 4 o'clock, that seems to be the quote witching hour for the precipitation. And then it pulls out of the way going into Saturday. So let's recap. Partly cloudy for tonight, quickly warming up on Tuesday and Wednesday with temperatures in the upper 70s. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. I'm looking at a better chance of steady showers for Friday, Saturday.
All right, thank you, Paul. Well, looking to the south now, some cities there and in the eastern U.S. are bracing for potential flooding, hail, and possible tornadoes. Maribel Gonzalez pinpoints where some are still cleaning up from the last round of storms and where the newly potentially damaging threats are headed.
A severe storm system is threatening the southern plains across Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Across much of western Texas, damaging rain, hail, wind, and tornadoes are possible. The news comes amid recovery efforts for some in Burnett County after a tornado touched down on Thursday.
I didn't realize it was a tornado, but you could hear the wind for sure.
The minute we shut the door, I went blacked out. I don't remember anything.
The Lone Star State has been pounded by storms. Just days ago, water rescues were underway in the Huffman area and further north in Lawton, Oklahoma. Moving east, people in Monad, Missouri are thankful to be alive after a tornado hit last Tuesday.
I was at home in my shelter about 2 miles south of here. It can be rebuilt. Nothing can't be replaced.
In Louisiana, rooftops were ripped off after tornadoes churned through parts of the state on Friday. Monday's radar shows that new storm threats stretch into the eastern part of the country, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, down to Raleigh, North Carolina. A few rounds of rain could cause some flooding issues for New York City, Long Island, and parts of Connecticut. Not much sun in the Sunshine State, with central and southern Florida facing potentially heavy thunderstorms into the overnight hours. I'm Maribel Gonzalez reporting.
New tonight, there was a meeting today in Bethany Beach to discuss 2 studies on how to protect Delaware beaches from erosion. The discussion was run by Tony Pratt, a former DENREC official, now acting as the director of the Bay Beach Association. And CoastTV News photojournalist Matt Hipsman was there. He heard from both Pratt and some community members.
We have two studies we really are thinking about right now. DENRAC over the last couple of years has put together a study looking at the distribution of cost sharing. The federal government requires that up until recently, 35% of the Ocean Beach projects and 35% of the Bay Beach projects be covered by a non-federal sponsor.
It depends on what kind of funding the state has to begin with, where that money has to go. Do I want it to come away from somebody that needs it for their family and to provide for that family? Do I want the money to come from there? Or do I want the money to come from extra money we have?
The beach was much wider because we came before the 62 storm, and after the 62 storm it wasn't as wide. A lot of the beach got eroded by that storm.
Had we not done any nourishment, how much loss would we have had of infrastructure? The boardwalks in Rehoboth and Bethany probably at this point would be gone. Many oceanfront houses and hotels and businesses would also be gone had we done nothing over the last 20-25 years. So that was never evaluated, never looked at as to what cost savings were put out there.
The government has taken a lot of funding away. When you go to a campsite or state parks or whatever, you have to take the time to clean up. You can't expect somebody else to be cleaning up after you because the funding's gone.
Coming up next on Coast TV News at 11, how to protect yourself and avoid ingesting forever chemicals. Well, one of the busiest air travel hubs in the nation is in its second week of mounting delays and cancellations. And as Laura Aguirre explains, one major carrier is now taking route scheduling matters into its own hands, while the Transportation Secretary tries to reassure frustrated flyers that better days are ahead.
This is bureaucracy at its worst.
Hundreds of delays and cancellations are filling the notification boards at Newark Liberty International Airport for an unparalleled 8th day.
I'm concerned every time I fly.
These problems have been going on, not just for years, but for decades.
United CEO Scott Kirby echoes the concerns of the Transportation Department's former Inspector General, Mary Shivo, recently calling Newark's air traffic control facility, quote, chronically understaffed for years, compounded by last week's walkout that he said saw 20% of the airport's controllers leave. United now says it's canceling 35 flights out of Newark every day, saying in a statement that Newark Airport cannot handle the number of planes scheduled to operate there in the weeks and months ahead.
He's trying to say we can't continue to rely on the FAA, which is a huge thing to say.
A former Federal Aviation Administration safety inspector agrees air traffic controllers are at a breaking point.
They've been working 60-hour weeks for years and years.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy cites a runway construction closure and outdated equipment failures as part of Newark's current operational struggles, but adds big changes are coming.
We're going to lay fiber, we're going to get new radar, there are new radios, new ground sensors, the equipment that is facing the controllers to all the back-end equipment.
We have 500 plus airports in the United States. They have different equipment. So it's not the same system wherever you go. Secretary Duffy has to do this, but it will take years.
Time that many anxious air travelers don't have.
Have a lot of travel coming up, so hopefully they can resolve this quickly.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Now, all of these issues come as the government begins enforcing real ID requirements this week. Starting Wednesday, all passengers flying domestically will now need a special driver's license or ID that in most states has a star on the right corner. If they don't, they'll need to bring their passport or other approved documents to fly. And with that in mind, the state of Maine is now asking federal authorities to slow down the rollout of the new Real ID. Maine Secretary of State Sheena Bellows and the legislature's Transportation Committee are proposing a phased-in approach. They say people traveling without a Real ID should receive a warning.
Only about a month ago that we got the news that it was going to be a hard deadline instead of the phased-in approach. We're calling on TSA to reconsider the common sense behind that.
So they've sent a letter now to the TSA and the United States Department of Homeland Security. Coming up in sports tonight, Laurel Baseball tries to protect home field. Could they pick up the win against a struggling Christiana team?
Here's a look at your call forecast for tomorrow. We anticipate things looking pretty good, to be quite honest. Early fog, but after that, summer-like warmth with a high of 79 degrees and a little touch of mugginess as well.
This is Coast TV News at 11.
The CDC reports that 216 children have died during this flu season, which is the highest number since the 2009-2010 swine flu pandemic. The number of deaths also surpassed last year's total of 207. That's according to a federal report released Friday. Now, experts say it is concerning that the number already is this high since flu season is technically still going on. The flu vaccination rate for U.S. children has plummeted from about 64% 5 years ago to now 49% this season. Well, common chemicals found in plastic products around your home may be linked to heart disease. Worldwide, it's according to a new study, and they're used in items like plastic containers, vinyl flooring, shampoo, makeup, and children's toys. A global study found they may have contributed to over 10% of heart disease deaths in 2018 among people ages 55 to 64. Now, to reduce exposure, experts say you should avoid eating or microwaving food in plastic containers and use glass or stainless steel instead.
There's different types of plastics. You want to avoid 3, 6, and 7 specifically. Those are the plastics that have the most phthalates in them.
Now, the phthalates that the doctor was speaking of, they've also been linked to reproductive problems and lower sperm counts and testosterone levels in adult males. Sticking with health news tonight, a new phase in a clinical trial for treating certain kinds of tumors with immunotherapy. It continues to pave the way for the future of treating patients with cancer. Reporter Elise Schuing has the details.
Hope is exactly what patients who are diagnosed with cancer are looking for when they come to the St. Luke's Cancer Institute. And some patients are finding that hope in the form of a breakthrough cancer treatment known as immunotherapy.
Michael Delaney has been living with a rare cancer known as thymic carcinoma since 2013.
I was given 12 months, and I've been here for 12 years.
He's had 28 rounds of radiation, 4 rounds of chemo, 6 surgeries, and almost 200 rounds of immunotherapy since then. He says it was the immunotherapy clinical trial he traveled to and from D.C. for in 2015 that changed everything.
Immunotherapy has really been a miracle drug for at least my cancer and many other cancers out there.
Immunotherapy drugs redirect our immune system to attack cancer cells. Michael's gotten his immunotherapy treatments at St. Luke's ever since that clinical trial. Dr. Mark Roth is the medical director of gastrointestinal oncology at St. Luke's. He sees its success.
I can fairly confidently say that immunotherapy by now has probably been tested in almost every type of cancer, and it has really transformed the way we treat many of them.
A New England Journal of Medicine study tested immunotherapy on tumors with a certain mutation. It was 80% effective in people with the mutation, which could mean a future where some cancer patients are treated without chemo and surgery.
The underlying premise of this study is that not all cancers are the same.
Dr. Roth says this means genetic testing is crucial because cancer patients can know if immunotherapy would work for them.
People with cancer have to have hope.
It's a bit of hope for patients like Michael to keep fighting.
The Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
The season is winding down in Delaware baseball, and tonight, Laurel hope to pick up a win against a struggling Christiana team. With 2 on in the top of the first, Bruno Howard Hoagie rips one down the line for Christiana. It's enough to get a run home and puts the Vikings ahead 1-0. Same score in the 6th. Matthew Givens trying to wake his group up. He leads the inning off with a double for Laurel, but the Bulldogs strand runners on 2nd and 3rd to end the inning. So then in the 7th, final chance for Laurel with 2 runners on. Ryan Baxter picks up the strikeout, and Christiana upsets Laurel on the road with a 1-0 win. Last week on Into the Trenches, we saw how the offseason work paid off for the Cape Henlopen Vikings, culminating in a victory over Red Lion in their first game. Now let's take a look into how the Vikings prepared for the game ahead in Episode 3 of Into the Trenches, A New Voyage.
On the next Into the Trenches.
Not a lot of kids get to hang out with their dad as much as I do.
It's difficult, and I would caution people who coach their kids.
I felt a lot of pressure, man. It was our first home game.
Tonight will probably be the most crowded home opener in years. What are you going to do to sacrifice for your brother?
Into the Trenches, a new voyage on the Delmarva Sports Network and DSN Plus, sponsored by Preston Automotive.
That'll do it for sports. Have a great night, everyone.
Well, it looks like Cape Henlopen just got a whole lot leafier. The Friends of Cape Henlopen State Park just planted over 120 native trees to celebrate the ending of Earth Month with a little help from the folks at Dogfish Head. It was all made possible with some grant money that's helping Delaware get more trees in the ground.
Friends of Cape Henlopen Park are awesome. They help us with our race every year. Thank you guys for all the work that you do. By the way, at Milford, right now, Bay Health, we're at 62 degrees. We're going to stay in the lower 60s with a chance of fog developing throughout the early morning hours. Our umbrella giveaway winner, Cindy West of Rehoboth Beach. Congratulations, courtesy of Paul Davis Restoration and Home Remodeling. If you want to keep up with your forecast, you can call our weather line. The number to call is 443-880-9100. Your forecast is just a call away. Sponsored by the law offices of Bruckstead, Mendalis, and Federico. Finally, here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast. We're going to stay in the upper 70s for the next 3 days in a row before that rain kicks in Friday and Saturday.
All right, at least looks like it's going to be nice for Mother's Day. Thank you, Paul, and thanks for joining us for Coast TV News at 11. For some more local news and weather, you can always download our Coast TV News app. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, that's up next, and we'll see you back tomorrow for Coast TV News at 5 a.m. Have a great night.